The Wild Paw Puppy Podcast, Episode 1. Podcast is sponsored by EnviroWorks WeAway, the probiotic, pet-friendly way to keep your home clean. Visit weaway.co.uk.
Hello and welcome to a special edition of the Wild Paw Podcast. My name is Karen Wild. I'm a trainer and dog behaviour counsellor, and I like to help you settle in with your dog and have a happy family life. This series is all about puppies, and we're going to start with how to get the right puppy for you and whether you actually need a puppy at all. First of all, I should say that I do see a lot of 6-month to 18-month-old rescue dogs that for one reason or another are no longer wanted, usually through no fault of their own. They've ended up in a rescue home or needing rehoming. Often, their original owners did not know what they were letting themselves in for when they chose their puppy, so the dog has ended up either in an unsuitable place, or perhaps it wasn't the right match for the family, or maybe the family didn't really think what they were getting when they did get a dog. So this guide is really to help you find a really good family companion dog that you will be able to keep in your family for the rest of its life and hopefully enjoy its company, at least most of the time. Firstly, it's really important to get your expectations right about dog ownership. When I talked to someone the other day who'd mentioned that their other half was pestering them to get a puppy, I described what it's like to have dogs in your house. Just one dog, or many dogs, is a lot of extra work, and my yardstick is normally to say something like, well, if you think about having another baby, then maybe a dog would be a good idea. What by that I mean, I don't mean get a baby and a dog together. I mean, if you're thinking about how much work it's going to put in and you're put off by the thought of the amount of work a baby might cause, then a dog, especially a young puppy, for the first maybe 6 months to a year, possibly but longer, is a lot of work. So first of all, think about what kind of impact it's going to make on your lifestyle by how much work it's actually going to be. I would always advise you to consider getting a rescue dog instead of a puppy. It might actually suit your lifestyle better. If you're out a lot, or you've got other dogs, or you want to make a good match, an adult rescue dog gives you a pretty good idea of how things are going to be. It doesn't have to be a young rescue dog either. There is a very good charity called the Oldies Club who rehome dogs that are aged 7 and over. And these dogs, again, may have been put into rescue through no fault of their own. And it's worth investigating because you can get some absolutely brilliant older dogs. Now, it might put you off thinking of old as 7, but 7 nowadays is not really that old for a dog. And even for most breeds, they do live a lot longer. So I would say, if you're thinking about getting a dog at all, maybe a puppy isn't the right thing to do. Get an older dog. They can cope with a lot more. And pretty much they're already house trained and things like that if you really do your homework and get one that's suitable for you. Remember then that if you're choosing a cute puppy, and they are all cute, I don't think I've met one that I haven't thought was really sweet. What you are choosing is an adult dog. Very soon it will be a big part of your life, and physically big as well. Particularly if you've seen some people with, a very attractive looking dog and you think, well, you'd love one. You get the puppy and they are beautiful, but they do grow massive sometimes. So try and imagine the size of adult dog in your home before you actually decide on the breed. Your dog may live, as I've said, for, 15 years or more. Veterinary care is very good nowadays. Nutrition is good. We have good disease prevention with dogs. So what used to be considered to be an old dog, in my day when I used to have pet dogs at home, old was sort of 10 or 11. Now we're talking 15, maybe, depending on the breed, and it does change. But it's not such a surprise to hear of an oldie being about that age nowadays. So you're going to have the dog for a long time. So be prepared that all through the life changes that you're going to have, you might not yet be married, you might decide to live together, you might decide to have children. There's lots and lots of life changes that make that difference. And you can hear in the background one of my little dogs. So even if you're trying to work at home, they sometimes make some noise. So don't forget the other thing is that your puppy is going to need veterinary treatment. And with our usual optimistic outlook, we think maybe, get them vaccinated regularly, get them flea treated and have worming treatments and those sorts of things, which it does add up and, annually can be quite a lot. They're routine treatments, but you do need to consider what might happen if your pet gets ill. and it can be extremely costly. I just did a quick survey on Twitter to find out people that had insured their pets, and those that came back that had to claim have claims of many thousands of pounds usually for their dog's treatment. Sometimes it could be a long-term treatment if the dog ends up having some kind of problem that needs ongoing medical attention. So you could be looking at quite a financial investment there, and certainly you don't expect that when you first take on your pup. You can minimise against that sort of thing and do your research properly. If you're looking for a particular breed and you've really set your heart on it, make sure, and it doesn't really need me to say it, but I do think, make sure that the breed you're choosing is nice and healthy, that they have good, healthy look, that their parents are healthy, that you've seen all of the health tests, certain eye tests and other tests that you can get genetically, that all look towards being a nice healthy dog. There are things like retinal problems, hip problems that dogs can suffer from when they're inbred, or just hereditary problems anyway. So it is possible to find out more about these issues in a particular breed. If you're really not sure where to begin, what I do recommend is that you buy a copy of Dogs Today magazine, because they have a very good chart in the back with all the possible diseases that you could think of, and some breed advisors that you can ring up for free and have a chat with them about different breeds. I know I did that a little while ago when I was researching a breed for a client, and they were really honest. And the bonus was, because although they are a breeder, they weren't actually trying to sell me a puppy, so they were really honest. So definitely you're going to have a big investment on your hands, and you're going to have this dog for a long time. So let's make sure you get a really nice healthy one. The other side of things, which I've briefly mentioned, is about pet insurance. Now, this is a hotly debated topic. There's a lot of money involved in it, and obviously with times being a bit harder nowadays, people are dropping off their pet insurance. Do be careful if you decide to do that, because you need to have some kind of third party cover no matter what for a dog, I believe, because it keeps you legally protected if your dog does cause an accident. You can get this on other things. It may be that it's covered on your house insurance, for example. But I would consider looking at the pet insurance policies that you take out. And if you do take them out, do read the fine print, because there are certain clauses that come in and out over time, and you want to make sure that your pet is covered. Don't just buy on price. Now, of course, I would say this, but your dog, your puppy, is going to need training. Dr. Ian Dunbar mentions in one of his books, which is a free book called Before You Get Your Puppy, and you can download that from dogstardaily.com. There is a whole sort of raft of training that you can do with a puppy, but the biggest things you need to get first of all are things like house training, so that your puppy doesn't pee or poo in the house, and socialization, which is so that your puppy can actually get on with other dogs and other people. Now, some special recordings that we're going to do of this series are going to cover those topics in detail, so I won't go into that now, but do be aware that training is absolutely fundamental. You don't have to teach tricks and fancy things like that, so don't think that that's just something that's very superficial. Fundamentally, your dog needs to learn the rules. They need to learn them from a kind person who's going to be very clear what the boundaries are without having to be scary. So we will talk about that in another episode. Then the one thing that a lot of people do get a dog for is exercise. It's really, really healthy to take your dog out for a walk. It's recommended for a lot of people to just walk. You don't need to go out running. You don't need to go to the gym. A good walk each day will set you right. So dogs will need exercise, and it's really beneficial for you. Don't think that you can sort of leave your dog at home during the day, and when you get back from work, you're perhaps a bit tired, and take it a 15-minute walk around the block, and that's it. It depends on the dog, but I really don't think that that's going to be stimulating enough for your dog, and you will end up with a problem on your hands. So when you're thinking about getting this puppy, try not to have the family argument of, whose job is it to walk the dog. It should be a fundamental part of your decision. Don't forget as well, I've also said your dog will need company. Puppies especially need to learn lots and lots of rules in the early part of their lives. So if you take a week off when they arrive and then go back to work, what you'll probably find is that you'll end up with a very under-socialised puppy that really isn't very good at mixing in everyday life. And what you really want, I'm sure, is the kind of dog that you can take anywhere. So do be prepared to have to take that puppy out, especially before the sort of 11 to 12 week period. So you should be aiming to get it a little bit younger than that, and make sure that you take it out and do all the things that you need to do. There are socialisation charts available, and I have one on my website if you would like to start working your way through all the different experiences that your puppy could have. But the idea is to get them out and about. And again, we will talk about that more in another episode, because it's just so important. So when you're looking for your puppy, what do you look for? Firstly, my biggest and strongest rule is please make sure that you see both parent dogs. I know that this is difficult sometimes because dogs are put into stud and they are taken away again. But even so, from my point of view, it's not the look of the dog that I'm after. It's the temperament and the personality of the dog that I really want it for. Obviously, I've chosen a size that I think is appropriate to my home and probably a breed that I think is going to be particularly suitable for what I need. So those things are already a given. When I come to look at the litter, though, I don't really know, just because I've picked that these puppies are going to be suitable. It might be that one parent is particularly nervy. It might be that they're particularly outgoing, but you should see that for yourself. Preferably play with both parent dogs, grandparents if you can, aunties, uncles, litter brothers, litter sisters that are older from perhaps previous litters. Please do the best you can to see all of those dogs, because only then are you going to get a really good feel for what your puppy might be like. So as you can see, it's not a case of going and picking one out of a litter and deciding which one you think, is the most outgoing puppy itself. Really look at the parents as well. And as I say, do try and see both. If you can't see the mother with the dogs, then I would turn around and walk away. There will be all sorts of reasons why you're told that you can't see the mother. They might shut it away. They might do other things, say that the puppies have been abandoned. The big problem with that, and I know it feels really hard to do this, is that there's a chance that those puppies were bred in a puppy farm or elsewhere and brought in from somewhere else. So it's not necessarily likely that you're getting a puppy that was abandoned by its mother. It might just be that they were bred on a farm somewhere, and then as soon as they're old enough to be moved away, were brought to somebody who's going to sell them. The other side of that is, of course, the puppies were not bred in that particular home, which means that they may not have been bred in a house at all. If you don't see the mother, then as I say, really, really, really put your alarm bells on and explain politely that you actually prefer to see the mother dog. And it is prevalent. I called up for to investigate a litter for a client the other day just to find out if they were suitable, and I had the same list of reasons why the mother wasn't there, and I just politely declined. So don't get it. If you really don't see the mum, preferably see the dad and everyone else, because otherwise you're taking a massive risk, and the risk is going to be with you for a very long time. So I really cannot stress that enough. Do be aware that puppy farmed pups do have problems. They have health problems, they have behaviour problems. They haven't been properly socialised, they haven't had the right experiences from an early age, and they probably haven't had the proper testing as well. If you're not sure what a puppy farm is, it's not the kind of thing that you would imagine to be advertised. It is a place where lots of different breeds of dog are bred and sold. So they're not necessarily sold from the farm itself, so they can be hard to spot. Sometimes a pet shop will have puppies from puppy farms, but again, I probably wouldn't recommend that you go to a pet shop because the puppies have spent time without being in a family home, and I really think you want a family pet. So going on to that, it might be that you get to see your puppy litter and find that they're in a shed or an outbuilding. This can be a problem because puppies need to develop hearing normal household noises and the busy hustle and bustle of a home. If you're going to live your life in a shed, then it might be that the puppy is okay with that, but I don't know many families that want to live in such a quiet environment. So don't pick isolated puppies. In my experience, under-socialised dogs can generally be quite fearful, and it's sometimes fear that, in fact, more often than not, fear can cause aggressive behaviour. So you don't want that in your house either. I realise it's a lot of effort, but if you're really making this choice, you do have to put the spade work in now to make sure that you get the best outcome for everyone. It's heartbreaking when I see people that have taken puppies on in a bit of a hurry, possibly that their old dogs died, or they've got to go somewhere, or they've just come back and they've made their minds up they want a dog, they want it straight away. There are people that will sell you dogs like that, but if you really are looking at a good breeder, they will take their time with you. They will invite you over more than once, and they will really help you to choose a dog that's suitable for you. And if they're really good, they will turn around and say when they don't think it's suitable. If a breeder is just after your money, then they might sort of give you all the right answers and then try and push the puppy on you there and then. So if they do that, do be a little bit suspicious. I understand that breeders have a living to make as well, but it also is something that, like I say, is going to be a liability rather than an enjoyable companion for you. So ask lots and lots of questions. Don't be surprised if the breeder wants to know all about you, because they want to make sure that their puppy goes to the best home as well. They may say, well, we'll keep in touch, but a good breeder will really give you the third degree on what you're going to do, what your lifestyle is, how you're going to look after their puppy, because they really care what happens to their dogs, and you care too. So it's a really good partnership. I'm still in touch with the breeder of one of my dogs. The other one was given to me, so she was a rescue, but I should be warning you that, Christmas cards with little puppy pictures on are very welcome in our house. So do be prepared to have a long-term relationship on that basis with your breeder. It's a really nice family relationship to have. So it's hard to go into all of the detail on this, but I've tried to give you a flavour for the kind of things that you'll be looking at. And please do take it seriously. It's hard to be sort of happy about things that when I've seen a lot of problem dogs that have come from a really bad start. So you owe it to yourselves, and you owe it to your family, and you owe it to your new dog to make sure that you've got the right type of dog for you.
So that was episode 1 of the Wild Paw Puppy podcast, a special podcast all about you and your puppy by Karen Wild. And this podcast is sponsored by EnviroWorks We Away, the probiotic pet-friendly way to keep your home clean. Visit weaway.co.uk.